Hello space travelers and welcome to another video. In today's video we'll be exploring on how to create a neutron star in Unreal Engine 5. In this particular video we will be going through what we need to do to create a proper shader material that we can apply to a sphere-like object inside Unreal Engine that closely resembles a sun texture. So all of these elements in the material will drive forward all the sort of the cracks and all the different plateaus of fire that you can see on the sun or in other media where a sun-like structure was built, or a planet, or whatever. So basically this is going to be a material that will change its texture based on parameters that you input. They're going to be able to fluctuate in turbulence. It's going to look like a proper star, like you see in these renders behind me. Basically, we're going to go through every part step by step. We're going to break it down into chunks so you can understand why we're doing what we're doing and what each element does. And I know this is a bit of a long video, but unfortunately there's no other way around it because it is quite a complex material. But if you do want to have the material to play around with and not have to go through this entire tutorial to set it up, you can just get the project files from the description below, and that will support me as well. So for the price of a coffee, you're basically getting an entire space scene that you can play with and you can set your renders within. This particular project contains the neutron star, contains a planet, contains an asteroid belt blueprint, and also a few skyboxes, and those are HDRIs at 8K that will are going to look quite nicely in your scenes. So with all of that, you basically can construct the space scene quite easily. Everything is quite straightforward. It's very specific. So the material itself for the neutron star has a lot of details of what everything does. And you can also convert it into a normal sun or any other kind of star that you want. You can also use it to create planets, but you just got to make sure that the turbulence level is as low as possible. But we're really going to get into the chunk of it. Now, if you really want to support me and you enjoy the content that I've provided so far, please consider watching my other videos in which we go through the construction of blueprints for asteroids and planets, and also the skyboxes. But if you want to, as I said, if you want to support me further, you can go and join my Patreon channel, or you can buy these projects from ArtStation or Gumroad, or you can subscribe, like, and comment, or do all of them at once. It really, it's really up to you. But let's not delay it any further, and let's begin the tutorial. We will start the video like any other video from before. We're going to break down the scene so you can understand what's going on. You can see that this is running in Unreal Engine 5 preview, so it's no longer the early access version. This is the preview version. I'm seeing some of these flickers around the asteroids. I'm not really sure what those are, but they don't show up in a render. I don't really understand why it's doing it. But as I've said, this doesn't show up in the render. So we've got over a planet over in here. It doesn't have a lot of luminosity on it. So the directional light is actually quite low in this scene, but we can actually increase it to maybe, let's say, a 3, or you can go even further if you want. And this is the neutron star over here. It's actually blocking the directional light. Directional light is behind it, but you can't see it. The neutron star, if I get quite close to it, you can see what's going on in there. I've got this effect of these sort of flames coming out, but it's very exaggerated at the minute. And the reason why I've done it this way is because I really wanted to emphasize the sort of these flames coming out from afar. So that's part of a Niagara system. So is this, these rays coming out. That's part of a Niagara system. What we're building today is really the neutron star material. So if we have a look, this is a blueprint. If we have a look in here, we've got the neutron star itself. Then we have these particles, and then we have some sun rays as well. Now, if we look at our neutron star, if we double click the material, let me just make this a bit smaller. what you're seeing in here, we have loads of parameters on the right side, and all of these parameters control different aspects of the of this this star. So we've got a brightness for a lot of these zones, a lot of these chunks, a lot of this material, turbulence for how fast it moves. So for example, if I put that to a 0.1, what we'll notice now is that the material itself moves a lot faster. So it just sort of, it just creates these distortions around. And again, that's how sort of the sun behaves in reality. But again, you obviously not at that speed. So if you have a look at the sun texture in here, which I don't know why it's showing okay. So this is not a very amazing resolution, but anyway, you can see that it's got dark spots and then bright spots, and then some really bright spots where there are flares and other such phenomena. So we've got the same thing in our material. I don't know, you can see here we've got a darker spot, which by the way, we can increase how much of that we've got, how much of that is covering the star. You can, for example, go in to tone down its total brightness. So then the star becomes a bit, it looks like this, for example. If you take the turbulence all the way down to 0, the speed, then there will be no distortion. So then you can make this more into like a planet. Obviously, you would have to work around with these textures to get that effect. So that's as I said, that's the material there. Let me just put the brightness back to where it was. That was 0.4. So what can I say about the scene? There's the asteroid belt. There's a ring in here. There's the planet itself with an atmosphere. The planet is at 8K, so you can see the shadows from the asteroids actually being casted on the planet itself. I'm not sure how realistic that is, to be honest, but And so the planet itself is at 8K, and then the skybox, that's an 8K as well. And right now the brightness on the skybox is quite low. So if we have a look over here, this is a blueprint. If we double click the material, then this is the material, and we can put the material to 1, which then means that the brightness of the surrounding nebula will be a lot more prominent. So you can see it there, and I can change that to a 0.5, which makes it even brighter, but obviously it's no longer looking like space. Or we could put it to number 3, which makes it really dark, and you can just see the stars in the distance. But that's pretty much it for the scene. There's not a lot of other things going on in it. It's just really, under the hood, there's a lot of stuff going on, and you can play around with those. The scene is also set up with the cameras, so you've got sequences that you can play as well. Most of this stuff is in blueprints anyway. Right, but what we want to do now is start building up the material, and we'll start with the basic stuff, which is basically, we need a shape within a scene. We'll create a new map in which we can add our star and then work there. So we just need a basic shape like a sphere, and then we would want a highly subdivided sphere. So you can create that either with the modeling tools in Unreal Engine, or you can just bring a nicely subdivided sphere from another software like Blender. Once you have that in there, we'll add, we're adding the material, and then we're just building the material, starting with the atmosphere, and then we move on to the plateaus of fire. So I've opened a new level just called tutorial. I'm just going to create a new folder again for the tutorial, and inside of it I want to create a new material, and I'm going to call this M Neutron Star, just for the fun of it. So we've got an M Neutron Star. We can also create a material instance, although that's not going to do anything for us right now. What I want to bring in here is I want to bring a sphere. Let me just get myself how do you get a new content browser? Because I actually genuinely do not know in this one. So where was it now? Content browser. Okay, there it is. Okay, so I've got a content browser in here. I want to go into another folder where I have a planet is what I call it, but it's just a static mesh. And I want to basically duplicate this, planet 01, that's fine. And then I just want to drag it, but unfortunately, as you can see, it won't allow me to drag it. Let me just do it the other way around. So in maps, in tutorial, I'm just gonna drag my planet, move here. Okay, so now we've got the planet, and we can drop it in the scene, make it, I don't know, bigger, I guess. Doesn't really matter. It's the scene is all black, it's pitch black at the minute. And we can add this material instance to the planet. But we're just gonna double click the material, the Neutron Star material. This is it. Let me just bring it up like that. Now with the material selected, we want to keep it as surface opaque, that's fine, but then unlit. And it doesn't matter if it's two-sided or not, you can just leave it as it is. So now we only have the emissive color. And what we want to do first, we want to build the atmosphere. So we're going to start, to begin with, we're going to add a lerp node. Because whenever you search for lerp, you're not going to find it. You're going to see it as linear interpolate, really. That's the lerp that I want. So if you type in lerp, just make sure it's the linear interpolate. And this lerp is going to be our connection bridge between everything else and the actual the atmosphere that we're building up in here. Okay, so we've got the lerp over here, and we want to bring an add node, and this connects into the point A of our lerp node. And this is, we're just going to leave that. This add is where everything sort of connects to the atmosphere into this lerp. The B value in here, we want to add a free color, a free color material. So if we look in here, actually no, a 4. So keep number 4, press on the keyboard and left click, and this will bring a color. It's got an alpha as well, and you can set the color to a blue, something like that, and then you can put that into the B, the B node or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so another thing that we want to do is for this add node, we need to add a desaturate, and we can connect this over into here. Okay, and then we're going to leave the desaturation node. We don't want to do anything to it, but this connects into something else. So that's a multiply node, and we'll put it down here. This connects into the A value, and then this connects into the alpha of the lerp node. We'll need a saturate node in front of it, so we need to add a saturate between the multiply and the alpha. Okay, and over in here we want to create a parameter for our atmosphere. We're creating the atmosphere edge right now. So to begin with, we want to bring in a divide, and we want to divide by 2, which is fine. In here we want to add a parameter, so we can connect that to the A value, and it's divided by 2. And then we can put in here, we can right click this and convert the parameter, and then type in atmosphere, trying to type atmosphere edge. And the best way to do an edge is to have a Fresnel node. So the divide connects into the exponential, I think it's exponents, I guess it's exponent, and this connects into the multiply node over here. Okay, now this doesn't connect anywhere for now because we need to continue on with the node. So I'm just going to copy and paste another lerp node in here, just gonna bring it over like that, and this connects into the A value. We can control C, control V and multiply, or you can control W. I thought it was working to duplicate, but it doesn't seem to work in this one, in this particular Unreal Engine. And then this can connect into the A value. And now we want to bring in intensity. So we want to set the intensity here. So we put a new parameter, converted parameter, and we're going to call this atmosphere intensity. So this is, as I said, this is like the outer layer of the whole thing. So it starts from the edge and goes towards the center. And this multiply node connects into the B value, and we'll need to have an alpha, at which point we can take the Fresnel that we made before and add it over here. This Fresnel can connect into the alpha. Just make sure you keep your noodles looking quite nice. By the way, we should really give these some default values. So I think this one will give it a 5. And then for this one, intensity, let's give it a 20 for now, and we'll modify it later if we need to. We need to copy and paste another multiply and another one, 2 multiplies. We can, in this multiply, we want to connect the lerp into the A value, and into the B value we want to put the intensity again over in here like that, and then bring another lerp, and I'll explain sort of like what we're doing here in just a bit, but first I need to put both 2 Fresnels in here, and I then want to have the same parameter, the atmosphere edge. I'm going to copy paste it, and I'm going to put it into here as well. So this is connecting into 2 more Fresnels. This is multiplying by 5 in here. And this goes into this exponent in here. And now what we want to do, we've got this connected into the lerp, but then we have another one connected into this lerp. And this lerp connects into the A value, like that sort of scenario. I know it's, it's quite a complex sort of structure, but we're just switching, well, not switching, but basically we're creating an edge that's going to be affected by the intensity of this parameter to say how deep does it go. And so the atmosphere edge will decide how deep does it go from the edge to the center of the star, and then the intensity is basically how luminous it is based on this color over here. Okay, so now we've got this lerp. What we want to do is bring an add node, and this is going to be a connection bridge between the atmosphere edge, and we're also going to create an atmosphere haze, and that's the inside of the mesh. So it's basically the internal part of the mesh. It's a Fresnel, but it's sort of looking in towards the center outwards rather than the edge inward. So we'll keep this add over here, then have another multiply. This multiply connects into the B value, and this lerp that we made earlier connects into the A value. We want to, let's just copy this in this parameter, but we'll rename it into atmosphere. So I'm going to call it this atmos underscore haze and then intensity. This is going to go in the B value, and I'm going to do another copy of the multiply node, which I'm going to connect in the A value. And then I'm going to add another Fresnel. This Fresnel will connect into the A value, and I need an edge in here, so I'm going to copy this one. The haze intensity, we'll leave it maybe to something like 5, and then the edge here, we'll just put it to something like 3 and connect that into the X. But sorry, because I've changed the value on this one, it changed all of them. So I need to make sure that I rename this into something else. I'm going to call it atmos underscore haze, and then I'm going to say edge, and then I can put that to a value of 3. I need another value in here into this multiply node, so I'm just going to put I'm going to put a free color. I don't need an alpha, so I'm just going to put this into here, but then the color maybe, I don't know, for now it's just about the haze of how that's going to look like. So maybe something like that. I don't know. We don't know. The colors are obviously things that we can change. And some of them can be, we'll make them into parameters. Like, for example, this one over here, we can convert to parameter and call this atmosphere color. So then we can change it whenever we want to a different color for the atmosphere. But that's done for the atmosphere haze. Let me just press Control S to save this material. We don't want to lose any work. And as I've said, well, Unreal Engine 5 preview does crash a lot, to be honest. So we've got this add node. I like to copy and paste a lot of these nodes all the time. So, I'm going to bring my multiply here. And we can set a brightness at this point. So add a new parameter put it in here and convert to parameter, call it brightness. So this is going to be basically, it's going to affect the brightness of the entire neutron star, not just something just in this particular element. So we'll leave that to a default value of 1. And now we want to do another multiply over in here, and we can connect this over into the A value. We want to multiply it by 100-ish. Yeah, I need another lerp, so I'm going to bring one over in here. Let me just push the material further, and I also want another lerp over here, and this basically connects into the emissive color. We want to have a sort of a distance that we can see the luminosity from, so just gonna add a parameter connected into the alpha, and then right click, convert to parameter. I'm gonna call this let me just click it, distance. Just gonna call it distance lum, just like that. Actually we'll need a saturate node between the two here. So let me just connect these two, and you'll see what happens when we do. So this lerp goes into the B value, and this multiply from here can go into the A value. So to begin with, one value comes from this multiply. The second value will come from the same multiply, but we're running through some different through some different elements. So this one connects over into the A value. Sorry, this connects into the B value, and this multiply connects into the A value. Yeah, like that. Okay. And now we want to bring this saturate node over in here, and we want to put this into the alpha. And you can see it's given an error because we need to have some nodes in here. We're just gonna add a divide. So we're putting the divide into the saturate, and then we want to add a distance. Let me just, we need, not the distance final rendering, I need a distance node. Let me just see where I can find it. There we go, the utility. Okay, so I've got a distance node, and I can put that into my A value. I need a multiply, but not by 100, it's multiply by 1. And I can put that into the B value over there. And then we want to do the distance between object position. So that's object position WS, so that's from world space, so we put that into the A value. Then we want to put the camera position world space, and we'll put that into the B value. And then we want to add an object radius, and we'll put that into the A value over here. And then we can click apply onto this material. Okay, and that's kind of the setup for our for our material for the atmosphere and haze. I'm just double checking to make sure that everything in here is all right. We have all these elements, and now we can select all of them and press C with a comment, and we're gonna call this Atmos. Am I actually seeing this right? So always name things, really good to get into the habit. So atmosphere and brightness, okay? And we can move this around if we want to. You know, now this is one sort of, one node. We can collapse it as well if we want to into something else. But anyway, we've got the add node, and the time has come now to create an area for our star color and our solar flare color. So the solar flares being the brightest spots on the star. Those are areas where maybe you want to use Niagara to add some special elements like particles spewing out of the sun, out of the star. But let's just continue. So we'll just add a multiply node over here, and we can connect this over into our A value. We're going to need to borrow a few things from here. So generally we want a lerp, So Control C, Control V. I want my lerp over here. I definitely want the saturate node, just so I don't have to search for them all the time. You see, that's kind of the point. So we're just going to put a lerp over here that we can connect to the B value. The saturate, generally I use them to go into these alphas. Let me just take another multiplication and put it into my saturate. And I need another divide node in here that I can put into the B value of my multiply. And now this particular, what we're doing here is we're going to have two colors, which is for the low altitude of those are going to be the parts of the star that are at a lower altitude basically, and then we have ones that are at a higher altitude. So for that we want to create two materials. So 4 on the keyboard and press it somewhere, left click on the scene. Just gonna create a blue-ish color. I've not yet obviously decided. I'm going to Control C, Control V that. So we've got two colors over here. I'm going to rename I'm going to convert it, and I'm going to say color low altitude, and then convert to parameter color high altitude. And again, when the material instance, we're going to modify these to whatever we need them to be. I'm just going to copy this lerp and put it over here. I want to connect both of these into the A and B values respectively. And this lerp goes into the A value. Oh, and here we go. We've just had a crash. So thank you, Unreal Engine 5 preview. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put these nodes back together because I did save the material before. So we don't, we're going to resume exactly from this point. Okay, now that we're back in business, I'm going to add another color over here and going to convert it to a parameter. I'm going to call this, small cell colors. This is going to be the smallest elements within the our star. So we can connect that into the B value over here, and we do want to set up some brightness for it, and that's why we got this alpha over here. I'm just going to change the color to I'm going to change the color actually to a white. So just pure white. So we've got the saturate over here, and we can set up a brightness for it. So what we're going to do, I'm going to add a parameter in here, convert to parameter, and just call it small cell brightness. And that can go over into the A value, and we want to divide that by 10, which is fine. We'll leave it like that. So we don't have anything yet to connect into this multiply because that's going to go further down where the cells are being created. But this was the right point where we need to connect all three of them. We need an alpha for this lerp, and to do that we're just gonna get a saturate, and you can see in here what it does. Basically, saturate makes sure that your values are between 0 and 1, so that not, they can't just go to an infinite extent of values. It's just always between 0 and 1. So we're just gonna put that saturate within the alpha. Make sure you save. Even though you have errors in your material, just save. Unreal Engine 5 preview, very unstable. This, by the way, works with any Unreal Engine. We're just doing it in Unreal Engine 5 preview. Let's just add a power node in here, and we can connect this over into our saturate. We'll leave it as 2, a value of 2. So that's the constant exponent. We need another multiply that I can connect into my base. And the same multiply can then connect into this one over here. Okay, and now we want a 1 minus connecting into the A value. And then we want another saturate. We'll put that into the 1 minus. Add another node in here. An add node, as in add an add node. This add node will connect to the solar flare color that we're going to be making. We then need another saturate node just before the add node, and we'll put it in here, and then a multiply of 50. I believe it was, yeah, 50, and we just put that into the saturate node. Okay, and this sort of gives us the entire, I'm just going to do a bit of cleanup in here, but yeah, this is going to give us the entire sort of node setup for the star color. I'm going to add a new lerp node over in here, and we need to put this into this multiply. So I'm just going to bring it like that. I don't like it when these noodles get one into each other. So if you double click somewhere in the noodle, you can create a bit, like a point. And from this point, you can connect new nodes as well, by the way, which is quite useful. Okay, so that's fine. This should be fine. I'm just going to apply the material and just make sure I save again. And now we can create the solar flare color. So, for this particular one, we're just going to select all of it and call this star color, because this is where you set up all of your colors for your star, really. This is the point. So there's nowhere else that you're doing this part. Just make sure your small cell brightness, you put that up to 150, let's say. So, the default value of it, it's very important that you have some default values, because then there's something that's basically to reset to if you want to. Okay, now I'm just going to copy one of these materials and bring them down here. And I'm going to copy it again. Now, this particular one, I'm going to call flare colors. So, flare color, and then this one we're going to call dark flame color. This is like the patches, the darkest patches on the surface. We need 2 multiplies, so 1, 2. Okay, in here, and this one connects into B value. This connects into the B value as well. We then need 2 more multiply nodes that we're adding over here, and each of these connects into the A value of the other multiply. Like that, and we want to bring in another saturate node that we can connect into the A value. Okay, and this lerp from over here, we want to connect this into the B value of this multiply, and then add another point in here and connect this into the B value of this lerp node, and that should be okay. Now for the A value of this multiply, we can take the saturate from over here, so bring that over into the A value like that. It's a bit of a complicated mess, I know. And then this saturate node will put it into this B value of this add node, and we obviously need to have some connection into this saturate node, which we're not going to have for a bit of time, for some time now. So we're just going to apply the material, continue. Okay, and if I'm not mistaken here, we can take another add node, drop it in, and we want to put both of these multiplies together, and then put them into the add over here, and that sort of creates a full loop. Save it. Doesn't matter, you got an error for now. It's just the saturate node that requires some input, but we're a bit further away. We're not close to that yet. So we want to select all of this and then call this flare color. I think that should be okay, flare color for that. So that's like what we are with the material. The next sort of setup that we're going to do is we're going to set up the color for what we called in here dark. Well, we're gonna not the color, but the setup for the dark flame, and then the setup for those cracks that you see. Those cracks are going to create a sort of a rupture, not a rupture, but plateaus for the star. So we want to create that next. So we've got to make the cracks, and we're going to make what we call it, the dark flame setup as well. So I don't know if you guys saw the Unreal Engine tutorial from Unreal Sensei on how to use micro textures to make a repeatable texture basically lose its tiling, so it doesn't look so repeatable all the time. to make it look more seamless. This is basically what we're doing right now. I mean, I'm using some of the methods found in that tutorial to put it together for this material. But let's move on to the flame setup. So I'm going to take an add node, if I can find one. There we go. Got an add node. We can bring it over here, and this add node is going to go into the B value of our lerp. I believe is the B value. I can then copy paste the add node which I want to put into the B value, because we're going to lerp for another value for the A value. Then gonna bring a multiply, and this multiply goes into the B value of our add node. We can then copy and paste it and put it into the A value as well. We need another copy of it. There's a lot of multiplication going on here, so that's going to go into the A value. We want to make sure that we've got a setup for the cell edge brightness. So all of these, so you know, when you look at the color high and low, those are cells that are big, or those are cells that are either at a lower altitude or higher altitude in a neutron star. So what we want to do is make sure that we've got a brightness setup in here for them. And that we're going to convert that into a parameter and call it cell edge brightness, and we can put this into the B value. We've got this multiply over here which is feeding into this multiply feeds into the add node, but then we need another multiply that feeds into the A value over here like that. And then we want a deep, so we've got, this is the cell edge. We could call this low altitude edge brightness actually. And we can copy paste this, okay, and rename it to a high altitude edge brightness. And we can put that into this multiply node over here. So that's great. Okay, and we have this multiply over which needs to connect into, let me just make a copy of this lerp, bring it over here. So this lerp connects into this add node over here, but it also connects into this multiply over in here, and it also connects into this multiply over here. So I can just bring it like that into the A value. So we see it connects into three points. We just need to copy another multiply, and this one needs to go into this one, and then we'll need a saturate node, and this one connects into the A value. We need a 1 minus, connects into the saturate. Let's create a multiplication that goes into this 1 minus, and we want to multiply by 2. Like that. Let me just bring the saturate. That's fine. I'll leave it there. Well, actually, no. I'll just bring it over here. I'm going to create the point, and instead of connecting it like that, I can just connect them this way. See? That looks better. Let me just save the material. Make sure that I've saved the material. Okay. We want another saturate. Bring it over in here, and we can connect this into our alpha. I want to use a cheap contrast in here, going into a multiplication node. Don't you just love nodes? Man, honestly, noodles and nodes, they're just amazing. Okay, so we want to make sure that we set up how much of those dark flames we've got a coverage for. So we can add a parameter into this multiply over here and convert to a parameter. Sorry, not preview. I want to convert to a parameter, and I want to call this dark flame coverage. Just make sure it's connected into this multiply. Put a value of, I don't know, 1 for now. By the way, this low altitude contrast, put a value of 2, and maybe this one a value of 6 or something like that. Okay, go back to the cheap contrast. So we need to put a contrast over here. So we can add a new parameter, convert to parameter, and we'll call this dark flame contrast. Give it a value of 0.7 maybe, something like that. But we'll see, you know, we'll see. Now we want to create a mask for the red and green channel, because we're going to use a texture noise, an RGB texture noise further down the line. So let's just bring a component mask over here, and you've got the channels that you want to mask. So if you, for example, this is now a mask that just shows you the masks the red channel only. And I'm going to bring another one in here that we want to mask the green channel only, and this needs to go into a multiply by 0.5. So I'm going to put this mask over into the A value, and this goes into B. We don't have the flare set up yet to connect into this lerp, but this is fine for now. Okay, let me just have a look. So this multiply, we can take this saturate node, bring it over here and connect it over like that. Want to add a subtract node, put into the saturate node, and from this we're going to subtract our star cracks. Now in theory we should have now finished our material for the dark. This is the dark flame setup, so this is going to set up all the, you know, all the dark, well, that's what it's called, isn't it, the dark flame. So I'm just going to, let me just save, because I don't want to ruin all of our work again. So C for comment, dark flame setup, and now we want to move over into cracks. In order to do this, we just copy the subtract and saturate node over here. This is going to be a new sort of area. Want to saturate again, just make sure you're saturating as much as possible. Oh god. Right, let's just bring this multiplication, connect it into the saturate node, and we need an add node in here to connect into the subtract. Do a parameter, no, sorry, just do a number, -1, connect it into the B value. This is not 1 minus, this is -1. Okay, multiply again in here, put into the A value, and we want to make sure that we've got a coverage for our, so the cracks are going to be in between the plates of high and low altitude. So we want to make sure that we have, a parameter that we can call coverage. We can call it plateau coverage, and then we can put this into the A value over there. Okay, we now need an add and a saturate. Let's just bring these a bit further down. The saturate connects into the B value of our add node, and the add node needs to go into our lerp over here. This saturate needs to go into the alpha, something like that. Hopefully we got that right. Okay, we got the saturate, we got the add. We want to bring in a multiply. This connects over into the saturate. A multiplication of let's say 0.55, and add a component mask, and let's just keep the R channel there and connect it like that. We obviously don't have anything to put into the mask as of yet, so we're just getting these errors all the time. We are going to need to create a material function here as well, by the way. We're going to use one of the Apex Unreal Engine materials to create our own. This particular multiply here, we'll just need to do it by 3, but we're not really connecting it to anything. So let me just bring another multiplication, put it into the A value like that. And I believe, yeah, I'll need this to be multiplied by 1, and I need 3 of them. So this is for my material function. I'm just going to put 3 in here. And we're trying to do a mask between, just going to try and do a mask between red, blue, and green. So let me just bring a mask, component mask. And this is going to be blue, copy paste. This is going to be green. And this is going to be red. And we want to connect all of these to the A value. And then put an add node in here. And these, we're just going to do it between A and, so between these two. Copy the add node and connect this over into the A and then this into the B value. Okay, let me just push these a bit further away. Like that. And I want to bring myself a new multiplication. Actually, if I get both the multiply and saturation over here, that will be quicker. I can connect this over into the A value. Let's add a parameter for crack. Ooh, not a comment. I didn't want to add a comment. So this one, crack intensity. So it's just going to be like the brightness of the cracks themselves. Going to put that into the B value in here. Create a new multiply that we can connect this into the B value. This multiply connects into the A value over here. Okay, let me just have a look. I think I can just drop these down a bit more. This multiply, I want to bring in another saturate node and connect it. Both of these, so this saturate node should go upwards into this multiply. And then we have this subtract here. We can use this saturate and put it into the A value. Okay, and then if we take this saturate and put it into the B value over there like that, that should be quite all right. And the same saturate from here, I can create a point and connect it over into here as well. Doesn't look very nice, does it? Let me just add a point. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Okay, that looks, well, it doesn't look good, but it's functional. Right, it's functional. Let me just bring this plateau over like that so it's not in the way. And I want to, in this multiply, I need another multiplication here actually. So let me just connect this into the A value and this goes over into the saturate node. Let's bring a power. And we'll do a power of 12. Where was that? Right, a power of 12. And then we can connect this to the B value over here. Bring a dot product on. Put this into the base. And now we want to bring in a camera vector world position. Put that into the A value. And then a pixel normal. So we're using the normals of the mesh as well in there, and just apply that. Make sure you save again. We don't want to get any crashes or anything like that. I like to do Control S, Control Shift S, which basically makes sure that everything is going to be saved. Okay, so I want to bring in a local align texture from Unreal Engine. So this is one of Epic's materials. Let me just, I'm trying to open it. Come on. Right, okay, so we need to modify this basically with a bit of a variation to make it work for our intended purposes. So I've just realized how long this video has gotten, and we are still, we still need to do quite a few things before we can say that we finished this project. It's a very complicated, very complex shader. As I said to you, you can then use it for a lot of different things. So you should definitely stick around to get to the end and have this shader set up. But I'll see you guys in part 2. I'm hopefully going to be able to finish it in 2 parts. That's my plan. But in the next part, we're going to be exploring on how to create our local align textures specifically for this project. And then we're going to add the rest of the parts that make up this neutron star the way it is. So I'll see you guys in part 2.